Hello YouTube. Last time I checked, there was something like 120 scientific miracle claims out there on Islamic Dawah and Islamic science sites, and the same amount of mathematical, miracles. As though Islamic science is any different from global science, just as Islamic medicine apparently is different from normal medicine. In my past videos, I've tackled the biggies, the most often quoted claims, and I've shown that they lack any substance and why. Now, it is well after midnight and I'm done answering my civil emails as well as the usual insults and death threats and the omnipresence after death threats. But this will not deter me from addressing the more down-to-earth claims today regarding the properties of our planet with the Islamic miracle seeker perspective. Several people have asked me why I do this and what satisfaction I get out of this. Well, I observe that religions cost us huge amounts of money, energy and time, and they serve as a mind control mechanism. The amount of time is directly proportional to the number of rituals that are required by each religion. Most religions have obsessions around human nudity and the covering of the head, ranging from a Jewish kippah, a Sikh turban, or even a hat or scarf, to the extreme of making women cover themselves completely. Muslims, for example, spend an hour a day on their knees and 2 hours on Fridays. I consider the most extreme form of brainwashing to be what happens to followers of the pyramid scheme of Scientology, a cult around a single person where everything is promised and nothing is delivered, except that wealth is redistributed. As with many religions, earthly rewards in the form of money play a vital role. Would all religion and belief systems survive without money?
I like gold.
What I'm trying to show is that the basis for a religion, the book, is a man-made invention void of all divine influence. Many YouTubers are exposing the exploitation of Scientology and the superstitions of the Christian religions, but few have dug into Islam. In my eyes, Islam is the most demanding religion, as the Quran has very vivid and explicit descriptions of heaven and hell, but very little else. Which is why it is so wide open to interpretation. It requires knowledge of the explanations of the text, the tafsirs, as well as the sunnah, the path and sayings of the idolized messenger who supposedly delivered the contents of the religion to Muslims, which were collected and arbitrarily written down centuries later. Then you have the seerah, the biographies, which are also taken as basis for everyday life. All in all, a complicated system which is taken from the life of a single person who lived in a cultural environment more than 1,000 years ago and is being applied today. Not in a spiritual but a very physical way, where Muslim clerics use the text as rules regarding whether Muslims are allowed actions that serve only entertainment or whether they should dedicate their entire lives to an invisible and unproven deity. This goes all the way down to discussions whether a Muslim wife should be allowed to sleep naked next to her husband. Well, so much for the explanation regarding why I do this. The satisfaction I get is that I hope to make people think. That's all, just think. If a Muslim checks up on what I'm saying, I have already achieved my goal. So this I consider to be the first step in establishing that a religious book is human-based, and thus all assertions and claims have very human origins. The original of the Quran is in heaven, made from gold, a precious metal deemed valuable by humans, useless to a god. Heaven has ample water and food, precious to humans living in a desert. Hell is full of what is considered to be painful for humans. So, what am I going to show today to make Muslims think? Well, because I plan my day under the shower and subsequently have the most creative ideas, today I found myself lacking the inspiration outside of my professional life, that is. But when I was scanning the various miracle claims, I found myself asking a question. Is Earth really rotating, geospherical, and orbiting the Sun according to the Quran? Let's take a very quick look. What the Quran says several times is that you need to blindly believe before accepting the truth in the book. And all those that don't believe are sorry idiots. The creation of our planet is described in a very similar way as was done 5,000 years ago in the Sumerian creation myth. We find the same unity of earth and heavens, the same creation of the rest of the universe. This was adapted later by the Babylonians, the Jews, and then the Muslims. If we read this, in the first days when everything needed was brought into being, in the first days when everything needed was properly nourished, when bread was baked in the shrines of the land, and bread was tasted in the homes of the land, when heaven had moved away from the earth, and earth had separated from heaven, and the name of man was fixed. This by the Sumerians, who lived in an arid area of what today is northern Iraq, who also gave a name to water, which was also used as semen, as does the Quran, and came up with a flood myth faithfully copied to the three Bibles of the Jews, Christians, and Muslims. The Quran takes the creation of our planet a bit further, as it applies the required belief and combines it with the absolute demonstration of their God's power, by having earth and the smoky skies or heavens talk to God and then merge, which he had just cloved asunder or split. Then each layer is assigned a function, and stars are sprinkled in as decoration. Is this scientific? Does this represent the knowledge of the seven visible celestial bodies, possibly? The Sun, Moon, Jupiter, Mars, Mercury, Saturn, Venus, or the naked eye planets, according to the Ptolemaic theory? Or a cosmologist's view in the year 3842 in the far future? Remember that the Quran is valid and applicable to every era and time, and it should be correct. The universe is vast, where the words used to describe this are being changed to expanding in an attempt to accommodate the expanding universe. The Ayah 51:47, "We have built the heaven with might, and we it is who make the vast extent thereof," is changed to, "It is we who have built the universe with our creative power, and verily it is we who are steadily expanding it," making it a total joke, as neither is the word used, musiyun, a verb, nor are any translations before the late 20th century ever using anything other than vast. It is also telling that the universe is not steadily expanding at all, but accelerating, which makes this attempt at falsifying the Quran more funny than scientifically accurate. Yes, I know that the Quran is written in Arabic, an imprecise language where words can have up to 50 meanings, and yes, I know that with a vocabulary of only 2,000 words it is difficult to convey a precise meaning. But the Quran is meant for all mankind and should be perfect and correct in Arabic as well as any language that Allah invented. If not, a Muslim is claiming that Allah only knew and spoke Arabic. Earth itself is described as flat. Some scientifically illiterate idiots such as Yahya Naik and others propagate the myth of a verb, spreading, actually meaning egg-shaped, using illogical brain acrobatics. Did Allah egg Earth, or did Allah spread Earth? Is the description of Earth being egg-shaped scientifically correct? Is egg-shaped the best that an Arabic-speaking God can come up with? Is egg-shaped the most perfect description of our planet? Well, you decide. Now for the cosmological description of our planet. The Quran mentions the sun and moon orbiting our planet, swimming along. Ahadith further elaborate where the sun goes after sunset, underneath Allah's throne. Some Muslims try to improve the Quran by claiming it means that the sun is rotating and that Earth is generally included in the orbit, which is simply not true. All verses mention only the sun and the moon, but never Earth when it comes to orbits. The sky is supported without pillars, which would constitute a correction of the contemporary beliefs, but the addition of pillars that you can see puts it firmly back into the realm of superstitions. Is the claim that the sun rises in the west scientific, in whatever connotation or environment? Does the mentioning of the moon never overtaking the sun make it better? Does the mentioning of sunrises prove the spherical Earth? Hardly. So if I look at the truth and only the truth, nowhere in the Quran does it actually say Earth is spherical and the moon orbits Earth, both of which orbit the sun, which are part of our solar system, which is part of a galaxy. That is what a perfect book written by a perfect God would have written for imperfect humans, instead of writing down riddles with vague clues which require humans to solve or improve them. And wobbling orbits, colliding galaxies and asteroids threatening the existence of the most imperfect creation hardly prove the hand of an experienced creator, even if he won the heavenly competition of all gods. Once again, we see that the Quran is a religious book, a book of spiritual guidance at most, created by humans. Anyone trying to implement it literally today, the 21st century, is bound to be taken less than serious. If a person then goes even further and tries to reinterpret and retranslate it, just to come out with some ludicrous words that can be retrofitted to match some scientific facts, will earn only one thing: ridicule. Does the Quran deserve this? Now, before you launch into a barrage of copy-paste comments, please, pretty please, use both brain cells and truthfully answer the following questions. Do you honestly believe that our planet is egg-shaped? Do you know any non-Muslim, scientist or not, referring to Earth as egg-shaped? If Earth was 10,000 million years after the Big Bang, how can it be part of it? Why do translators always use vast instead of expanding for 1,300 years? Does the Quran ever mention the words spherical, geospherical or ball-shaped when describing Earth? How does the mentioning of day and night prove a spherical Earth? Now you decide whether a religious book and the accompanying texts warrant a literal treatment, or whether a Muslim can find sufficient support for her or his belief without the science. Thank you for your time and constructive criticism.